Hello, fellow challenge parents. Vera and I were working on verb tenses, so I thought I would share this as kind of another connection for English to Latin and an opportunity to talk about grammar and the English language, grammar and Latin, and every language pretty much has verb tenses. So I made this little thing today to help Vera, so I thought I would share it. These are all kind of already on worksheets and things handed out by the tutors, so it's nothing new, just organized a little differently perhaps. So when you're going over tenses, in Latin it's split between two systems. You have your present system and your perfect system. And the way that I like to remember the present system is that, like a present, it's open. So anything that happens in the present system is not finished yet. Whether it happens now, yesterday, or in the future, it's not finished. It's not completed. These are also active voices. And then the perfect system is perfectly done. Everything in this system will be finished verbing. It'll have verbed. It's verbed, it's last verbed. So when you're thinking about tenses, what they do is they kind of relate your verb and your subject to something happening within time. In essentials, we had verb anatomy, and so this is, if you guys still have any essential stuff, a great way to tie things into English grammar. But for right now, we are working on this. I made these little cheats so that Vera, when she's translating from English to Latin or Latin to English, she can kind of just real quickly just come and see, like if she's in English and she reads, "They were conquering," she can immediately look and see were-ing and see that it's imperfect, because there's not going to be were or ing anywhere else, even on the passive chart. So if you want to move into more of like a dialectic or rhetorical kind of conversation about this, then think about the difference that it makes in the purpose of what you're communicating. So if you say, "I jump," "I do jump," "I am jumping," "he is jumping," "we are jumping," it's just kind of happening right now, but it's not done happening. "I jump" doesn't really have a lot to say about the time. You don't really use that, kind of like our simple form in English. The simple form in English, hold on, that's a reflection. The simple form in English doesn't really, it doesn't really kind of tell you what time and when this is kind of happening. It's just sharing information. So I feel like it's kind of like that. Imperfect, it might have happened in the past, but it's still going on. So I was driving when my mom called. So in my story might have happened before, but I was still doing the verb. It was still open. It hadn't gotten closed off yet. In the future, I will drive to the store. Okay, so it's not done yet. It's still open. And then when you move over to the perfect system, you start to see that your perfect tense here, I drove. It's done. He has eaten. It's done. Perfectly done. Check. Completed. You can't go back and change anything about it. Pluperfect also, it's kind of like mirrored here. It's happened yesterday, or before in the past, but it's done. I had jumped 5 hours before we left. So it's done. You had jumped. This would have sound more like, I was jumping 5 hours when I got a cramp in my knee, you know. Future perfect, it's gonna happen tomorrow or in the future, but it's not, it's gonna be done by the time that I talk about it. So he will have walked 20 miles by 5 o'clock tomorrow night. Okay, it'll be done. It's done. So those are kind of the ways that you can explain Latin tenses, because the tenses, even though they're a little different, like in English, am verbing is considered progressive. It's not in the same tense. So there are little differences, but for the most part, understanding what you're communicating with a verb tense helps just give that extra level of understanding when they're going through trying to interpret things. You also use different stems. This one for present is used off the second principal part of the verb. For perfect, it's the third principal part of the verb that helps you get the stem. So those are those systems. In Essentials, it kind of looked like this. If you guys did Essentials and remember it at all. So like here's the am loving. It's progressive. It has the form of to be. So those were little like cheats that you used in English. And this is kind of like my little cheat system that I'm using for Vera in Latin. Also the passive systems will look different. Passive will have everything, like anything in this active will be the subject doing the action. And then in passive, everything changes to have an ed on the end and different helping verbs. Anyways, so maybe I'll do another one of those, but just to encourage you guys to use the resources for Latin grammar to help understand grammar in general. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.